taking you to the West Coast this fine morning for a WCC matchup between a 12th-ranked Gonzaga team and 15th-ranked St. Mary's. The Zags will be looking to avenge their loss against the Gales just 3 weeks ago, which would put both teams at 25-5 on the season. The last time it went to OT, so this one could come down to the wire. That game at 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. We'll get you ready for that one and so much more. Welcome to Countdown to Game Day, covered by State Farm. Christine Williamson alongside Sam Ravech. How are we doing this fine morning?
We're doing great. We got 2 weeks till Selection Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy to think,
it's insane.
Right? But seasons are going to be made or they're going to be broken in the next couple of days.
Yeah, this is our last regular season show. Thanks for hanging out with us. I do want to say something, though, before we get started, because Sam celebrated a birthday yesterday. He said nothing to anybody, by the way. So he's one of those people that's like really humble, I guess. I don't know. But happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. It's, I think it's great. Look, I'm 28. I feel like I'm 45. That's what we got going.
That's weird. I don't know why you feel like you're 45. I don't know. Are your knees creaky? Like, what's going on?
Yes, all of it is.
Of course.
We got a mic issue.
Of course. I think we do a little bit. So,
okay.
Yeah.
How's that? Is that better?
It's a little bit better.
Okay.
Good job. He didn't want you guys to hear him talk about how excited he was.
No, I felt old waking up this morning. So, I don't know. I mean, look, 28's great. We'll see what 29 brings. Well, hopefully this is a good year.
I'm like, wait, you have a whole year before 29.
I like to look at it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We like to start every single show with what's trending in college basketball, just the things that are happening in the college basketball universe. And we're going to start with UNC. We're actually going to talk about them a lot today.
Yeah,
they're the biggest underachiever probably this season. They had an ugly win against Notre Dame on Wednesday, 63-59. It was a must-win, or they have a must-win game against Virginia tonight at 6 p.m. on ESPN. What is happening here?
Look, we're going to talk about UNC a lot. Like you said, rightfully so. Could very well be the first preseason #1 team to not make the NCAA tournament. When you talk about North Carolina this year, disappointment obviously is a word that comes to mind, right? But also expectations. I think we had very high expectations as people who watch and follow college basketball all year long for this team, because they did make it so far last year to the end of the Final Four in the national title game. But still, there are differences from this year's team from last year's team. One of the most glaring differences is this team does not shoot the three well. In fact, they shoot it really bad. And I'm talking like historically bad for as good of a program as North Carolina is. You're talking like 28% from beyond the arc, which is 333rd in Division I basketball. This is a disappointing season for North Carolina, but there's still time. Like, we're talking about it like the season's over. If they win out, this is a different conversation that we're having.
Oh my gosh. The fact that they could still make it to the tournament, we keep talking about how awful they've been doing, but they were preseason #1, as you mentioned, and they shot 8% from the three against Notre Dame. So that is like abysmal.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Yeah. Let's go to another thing that might not be great for one person, that being Kermit Davis, because Ole Miss head coach Kermit Davis has been fired. He was nearing the end of his 5th season at the helm in Oxford and guided the Rebels to an NCAA tournament in his first season, going 20-13 overall and 10-8 in the SEC, earning an 8 seed on Selection Sunday. But, things just haven't been going well since then.
No, they haven't. And the SEC, is probably not the best conference in college basketball this year. They've had a bit of a down year, and Kermit Davis has his team with 2 SEC wins right now. I think they're tied for last place in the SEC. Just hasn't worked out, like you said. I mean, took him to the NCAA tournament his first year there, have not been back since.
Right.
I think it's disappointing. I am interested to see who they end up kind of courting for that job. I think it could be a really interesting spot. I don't know that it's necessarily like a destination spot for a lot of coaches, but look for some of the high mid-major programs that have had really good years to get looks for that job.
Yeah, so they've gone 22-47 in the SEC over the past 4 seasons. So, needed to find a new person to kind of lead that team. Okay, let's go over to Michigan State, because they had a very emotional win over ranked Indiana number 17. And obviously, we know what happened, the tragedy at Michigan State on February 13th with the mass shooting that happened on campus there. So this is their first game back, and they got this win. How huge is this for this team?
That's huge. And a Michigan State team that has played really well at times this year. I just can't imagine the emotions that were running through that that building, players and coaches alike. Tom Izzo had a very emotional and impassioned speech pregame. The victims and survivors were recognized pregame as well. Remember, Sparty didn't actually start playing well at the start of that game. But 15,000 fans got loud in the Breslin Center, and it gave me, and I'm sure everybody else, chills, because that was a really, really special game and a special moment for that program and university.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it was the first game back in the Breslin since that shooting happened. Tyson Walker finished with a game-high 23 points, 8 of 14 from shooting, including 5 of 7 from the three-point range, and added 4 assists and a steal to his outstanding night. So definitely a really big game for Michigan State. All right, let's go to Houston, because we mentioned last week how there's been a lot of new teams at number one. We've seen kind of a rotation of like 3 or 4 teams. For Houston, this is their 3rd time this season that they're at number one. They've been on a 7-game win streak, picked up the first 48 first place votes from the 62-member media panel. So, I mean, this team has been rolling.
They have been. 30-point win over Tulane on Wednesday. Got a 3.5-game lead in the AAC right now. And yes, Houston gets knocked for playing in the AAC, but I challenge you to look at their non-conference. They beat St. Mary's, a team that's 7th in the net. They beat UVA when they were ranked 2nd in the country. This is a Houston team that has the best scoring defense in the entire country. They have the best scoring margin in the entire country at plus 20. They are 11-1 in quad 1 and quad 2 games this season. This is a very good team despite the conference that they may play in, but they have a dominant team and a dominant coach as well.
You know, it'll be very interesting when they make their way over to another conference, which just happens to be the best conference in college basketball. We'll see how they compete when they get to the Big 12, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it'll be that's one of the biggest questions I think going forward for Houston is, can they keep up this momentum?
Yeah.
Can they continue to recruit in the toughest conference in college basketball? I'm really, really excited and intrigued to see what they do. But keep in mind, Final Four's in Houston this year.
That's true.
So you could have Houston playing in front of a home crowd in the Final Four. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's a possibility.
That would be lit. Okay, so before we talk about our next subject, we have Coley Harvey in Tuscaloosa with the latest.
Today is senior day here at Alabama, but most of the questions Crimson Tide head coach Nate Oates received Friday were about a freshman's connection to the shooting last month that left a 23-year-old woman dead just off campus. Freshman forward Brandon Miller has played in every game since the January 15th incident. He has not been charged with a crime, and at this time, it doesn't appear that charges are forthcoming. With so much swirling around the program in recent days, Oates believes his players are balancing everything they can, both on and off the court. Now, Miller's possible connection to this surfaced Tuesday when a police detective outlined in a hearing just how quickly all of this played out. ESPN obtained a copy of that testimony Friday, and in it we learned that just 7 minutes before the shooting started, now former Alabama forward Darius Miles texts Miller to, quote, "bring me my joint," a reference to the gun. And then 5 minutes later at 1:43 a.m. Central, the detective said that video showed Miller's car arriving on the scene. Then at 1:45, the shooting occurred. In Tuscaloosa, I'm Coley Harvey, ESPN.
So a lot coming out of Tuscaloosa, still a lot to figure out, definitely legally. And with that situation, thank you, Coley Harvey, for the latest on that. Hard to transition back to basketball, but this Alabama basketball team has been absolutely lights out. They're currently number 1 overall in the NCAA bracket preview, coming on in at number 1 despite losing last week against Tennessee. So that's a sign really that Alabama has some breathing room in its chase for the number 1 overall seed on Selection Sunday in 2 weeks. So what do you expect to happen?
Well, first I just want to say thank you for Coley Harvey for doing that. He did a great job covering DeMar Hamlin. He's done a great job with this story as well. This story is not going away,
right.
Nor should it. I think there's still a lot more questions, like you said, that still have to be answered, and Coley's going to get those. But yeah, on the basketball side, you know, this has been one of the best basketball teams in the entire country this year. I think we have seen this team play at the highest level, and I think we still could see them play at the highest level in the NCAA tournament. But however far Alabama goes this year, this story is going to be there.
Right.
And they're going to have to answer those questions and deal with that. But yeah, it's an offense that plays really fast. It's a defense that can be at the best when they are playing at their best. Brandon Miller, of course, like we have talked about all year long, is one of the best and most talented freshmen in the entire country. We saw him put up a career-high 41 in the win this week.
Yeah, we'll see what happens out of Tuscaloosa as the season rolls on. Okay, finally, we have to talk about Texas A&M. I feel like we haven't talked about them once this entire season, so good thing that we're bringing them in for the last show of the regular season. They're currently 13-2 in SEC play. They started off 6-5 with losses to Wofford and Murray State. Both are outside of the T200 net.
Yeah.
But since then the Aggies are 15-2, what should we be looking at with this Texas A&M team?
What should we make of Texas A&M is the question, right? Aggies and Buzz Williams have had one of the biggest turnarounds, I think, in Power 5 basketball this season. From that non-con slate to the SEC. Remember last year's team? This was a team that was on the bubble and then got absolutely snubbed.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it was one of the bigger snubs of the NCAA bubble talk last year.
Right.
This time last year, Texas A&M was reeling on an 8-game losing streak. Right now, they're riding a 6-game winning streak. They're in a much better spot, and they're at a Mississippi State team today that is in need of a win. They are on the bubble themselves. Texas A&M has a chance. They need some help from Alabama. They have a chance to win the SEC regular season title. I mean, it's insane stuff. Considering how they started in their non-conference slate, it's tremendous.
Oh my goodness, we'll see what happens with Texas A&M, and we'll see what happens in the games today. Here's what we're looking at, guys, because there's some good ones on the slate. Obviously, some Big 12 games. You got an ACC game on there. What are you looking forward to most today?
Ooh, battle in the Lone Star State, Texas at Baylor. That game, I think, is like a -2 favorite for Baylor right now. That's going to be really, really fun to watch. North Carolina, they need a win to get in the tournament, Christine. Need a win.
All right, we are now joined by Elise Jawed, who is a senior journalism and broadcast student at Gonzaga, and she's out there in the action. It looks a little chilly. It's dark outside. It's like 6 a.m. there. What's the atmosphere like out there?
Oh my God, the atmosphere is so electric, Christine. We've had students camp overnight in these freezing conditions just to get a good seat to support their Zags. There is so much energy radiating off of these students. It is almost impossible to tell. It is that early in the morning.
Oh my goodness, I could not imagine. It wouldn't be me out there, so more power to you guys. Okay, so the last time that Gonzaga was a part of College Game Day was in 2017, and it was this exact matchup. Number 1, Gonzaga taking on number 18, St. Mary's, and of course, the Zags won that one. Do you expect the same result today?
Well, first of all, it's incredible to think that 2017 was 6 years ago. I will say we are expecting a win today. It is, exactly what we've been waiting for, exactly what we've been preparing for this entire season. And we're hoping we'll win by not only a 10-point lead, hopefully a 20-point lead or more.
Okay, so the last time these two teams went head-to-head, it was about 3 weeks ago, right? This game went into overtime, and St. Mary's ended up taking the victory. So what do you think that your team is going to have to do today to get the dub?
I think we're going to have to lock up Mahaney this time and finish out strong. I think the atmosphere is in our favor. It is hard for the Zags to be anything but stellar in the kennel when we have such amazing fans out here to support them. And other than that, I think we can expect a win. We are hard at work over here at Gonzaga.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. You mentioned the atmosphere, so we're going to have you grab one of the fans that are out there and play a game of this or that.
How exciting. We are so ready. We've got a fan over here. Okay, I'm just going to get right into the game if you don't mind, Christine. Okay, Grace. So we like to play a little game of this or that.
All right.
My first question for you is Taylor or Beyonce?
I'm gonna have to go with Taylor for my Swiftie roomies.
For the Swifties, and both of those concerts, both of those concerts were nearly impossible to get tickets to.
Yeah.
Almost as impossible as this game. Those tickets went out so quick. They were sold out nearly immediately. My next question for you is, who has the better mustache game, Drew Timme or Steve Harvey?
I'm gonna have to go Drew Timme.
Yeah, there we go. A true Zags fan at heart. He's gonna be happy to hear that. My next question for you is, we've got 1 point to win the game. Who are you putting your money on, Adam Morrison or Jalen Suggs?
I'm gonna have to put it on Jalen Suggs. I saw what he could do in Indianapolis. Let's go.
my final question for you is, would you rather marry a UW fan or a St. Mary's fan?
Oh, if I had to choose, UW. Sorry, St. Mary's. Not today.
Well, you heard it straight from the super fan here at Gonzaga. I'm going to send it back over to you, Christine.
Thanks, Grace. Elise, I want to ask you that same question. Would you rather marry a St. Mary's fan or a UW fan?
I would have to say a UW fan. I am a Northwest girly through and through.
Okay, I'll take it. Our last fan last week said they'd rather be single, but I feel like you want to be in a relationship, so that's perfectly fine. Thank you so much, Elise. Have fun and stay warm out there.
Thank you so much, Christine.
It is now time for What If, covered by State Farm. And this week we're going to keep it super short and sweet. Obviously, we saw UNC in the title game last season. So the question here, Sam, what if UNC doesn't even make it to the tournament?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the University of North Carolina basketball program obviously is one of the best sports programs across all of college sports. They are not going anywhere, and neither is Hubert Davis, by the way. The allure for recruits to play in powder blue, I don't think, is going away. When you look at the history of this program, 6 national titles, 21 Final Fours, that's a record. This is the only program, the only school to have reached 9 NCAA Tournament Final Fours in each of the last decades. I mean, it's really impressive what North Carolina has done. Despite the fact that they have underachieved this year, I don't think that the allure, the program, is going anywhere. Just because you have one bad season doesn't mean that all of a sudden, that you just fall off a cliff. And I think Hubert Davis is the right guy to turn it around.
Obviously, they were preseason number 1,
Yep.
right? Do you feel like that was, obviously they've underachieved, but do you think that was more of us as the media or people outside of the program knowing really what's going on inside?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we had Kim McClure on our show last week, and he made a great point that we as the media kind of, I don't want to say propagated, but we definitely had UNC maybe on a higher pedestal than maybe we should have.
Right.
I think that the expectations within the program, rightfully so, were very high. Having said that, I think that our expectations should have been a little bit lower. Just because they returned 4 of the 5 players from that team last year, they did not return Brady Manick. And this is one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the entire country. They ranked 333rd in the country in three-point shooting percentage. And Brady Manick, I think we underestimated at least his value to this team.
Okay, but this is my question, because you mentioned that they returned 4 of the 5 players that were so key for that team that was in the title game last year. What the heck happened? How did they drop off so far?
It's a great question, and I think Hubert Davis has kind of talked a little bit about this. Just because you return 4 of the 5 players from that year last year doesn't necessarily mean that you're returning the same 4 players. And yes, there can be decline at times. I think that this team last year, when you look at the NCAA tournament, they overachieved. And I think that's fair to say. I think a lot of people would say that. Doesn't necessarily mean that they can't do it again this year. This is still a what-if question. What if they miss the NCAA tournament?
Yeah.
They still could make the NCAA tournament. They have to win out, though. That's a huge part of this.
Maybe March is just their month. This team thrives in March, so if they do make the postseason, maybe they'll just go all the way to the title game.
You never know.
Who knows? Okay, it's now time for for Wood and Watch, presented by Wendy's, where we'll take a look at a couple of guys who are currently on that mid-season top 25 list. We're going to talk about a guy first that is currently on that UNC basketball team, Armando Bacott. 6'11" forward for the North Carolina Tar Heels. He's been one of the few bright spots in Chapel Hill this season, averaging a career-high 17 points per game and 11 rebounds per game. So he's actually been balling in the way that we expected him to this season.
He has. Leads the ACC and ranks 6th in the nation in rebounding. Broke the record, of course, at UNC for rebounds and double-doubles this year. 18 double-doubles, ranks 3rd in the country.
All right, Jalen Wilson. They played Kansas in the title game last year. This guy has been huge. Junior forward for the Jayhawks. Staple of consistency for Bill Self's reigning champs, averaging a career-high 20 points per game and 8.5 rebounds.
Just a walking bucket. That's what he is, and he's the leader on this team, and a Kansas team that really needs some experience and leadership. Of course, Grady Dick's a great freshman player. You saw him pass the ball up there, KJ Adams, but it's Jalen Wilson's show. Make no mistake there.
I want to say friend of the show for this guy, Drew Timme. Even though he hasn't been on our show, we follow each other on Instagram, so I feel like it. He's their heart and soul, fan favorite. And like Bacott and Wilson, is having a career year, averaging 21 and 7 on nearly 62% from the field.
Huge game for Drew Timme and company in the kennel today against St. Mary's. He's going to have to show up if they want to have a chance at least to share or maybe outright win the West Coast Conference. And I do want to say this about Drew Timme. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he goes to the NBA draft because there's a chance that he could actually make more money by staying with NIL. So that's going to be an interesting story over the next couple of weeks.
What a time. The fact that you're like, wait, actually, I don't want to go to the NBA. I might want to stay here, make more money, be the face of Gonzaga basketball. I think that would make sense, right?
There's worse places to be, and he is beloved in that community, and rightfully so for what he has done for that program. I'm just posing the question, Christine. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Those were this week's Wood and Watch presented by Wendy's. All right, let's take a look at Saturday's slate. Some games that we're looking forward to today. Obviously, that Gonzaga game, St. Mary's. And then, I don't know, which one are you excited about? I was about to say the one that I'm excited about, but it's obviously, I mean, there's 2 Big 12 games on here. So which one are you looking forward to?
I got an eye on Mississippi State here. Texas A&M, a chance to win the SEC this year in the regular season. Mississippi State firmly on the bubble right now. So that's a huge game to watch there.
It'll be a good one. And speaking of that good one, that team, as you mentioned, they're a team on the bubble. We're going to play a game called Are They In or Are They Out? We have these sums, and we're going to say whether or not we think these teams are in or out. Starting with that Mississippi State team, who, as you mentioned, has a really big game today. What do you think? Are they in or out?
I am going to say that Mississippi State is in at the moment. They did lose in overtime Tuesday. Opportunity to jump in the field today with a win against Texas A&M. I think when you look at Mississippi State, no real bad losses, which helps them. Having said that, they still have more work to do. I think right now you said 42nd in the net. Still think they would need to win the SEC tournament along with winning maybe 2 of the last 3 in the regular season. So right now I am in on Mississippi State, but work to do.
I'm going to say I'm out on them just because we will need to see how they play against Texas A&M today, and I want to disagree with you on this, on everything.
I like it.
Okay, let's go Oregon. What do you think about them? Do you think they're in or out?
I'm going out on Oregon. Oregon's really struggled the last couple of games, 3 straight losses. Problem for Oregon is they have no quad 1 or quad 2 opportunities left. So they're going to need some help and a lot of help from other teams.
Yeah, they're over 500, but they're 6th in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 hasn't been that strong this season. So I'm going to be out on them. I know I said I wanted to disagree with you. But
I thought you were disagreeing with me.
I can't disagree on all of them. Some of them are a little ridiculous. Okay, let's go Charleston. We haven't talked about them at all this season. What do you think, in or out?
I'm like right here on Charleston right now. I'm like in the middle. And here's why, because I don't think the Colonial is a 2-bid league. Right now they are tied at the top of the league with Hofstra. So I don't know that you're getting 2 teams in. I think this is just a 1-team or 1-bid league. This has been one of the most impressive and fun stories to follow though in college basketball this year. 20 straight wins at the start of the year was fun.
Right. I'm going to go in on them because, as you mentioned, they're at the top of the league. Only because they've had a really good season, and I feel like even though probably won't get 2 teams into the tournament, we have to show them some love.
They're right there.
I'm going to go yes. What do you think about Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, a month ago, they were firmly in the field.
Right.
And then they go out and they lose, unfortunately, Tyler Wall to injury, who is back now. But Wisconsin is not getting favored in the net right now. I'm going down on Wisconsin right now just because I think they're like 70th in the net. 500 record in both quad 1 and quad 2 games right now. Huge game at Michigan on Sunday. I think if they win there, we can have a different conversation, Chris.
Okay, I'm going to go down on them too. For all those reasons that you just mentioned, they're 11th in the Big Ten. Just not looking very promising for them. Let's go Penn State. What do you think about them?
I love Penn State's story this year, and the Nittany Lion fans have been waiting for this Penn State team to make it back to the NCAA Tournament for the first time since 2011. I am in on Penn State for a couple of reasons, and they have the opportunities left to get there. They have 3 games left: Rutgers, Northwestern, Maryland. All 3 teams remaining projected in the NCAA Tournament this year, so at least the opportunity is there for a Penn State team, unlike it is for Oregon.
Okay, fine. I'll go.
I'm convincing you for a couple of these, Christine.
That one I did convince.
Okay.
You did convince me. They're 10th in the Big Ten. I think I'll say yes to them because I just said no to Wisconsin. Let's go. I'll go yes on Penn State. Now we go to the best league in college basketball, Texas Tech. The Red Raiders, 9th in the Big 12. not so great. There's only 10 teams in the Big 12, guys. What do you feel? In or out?
They have a huge game today. Here's the thing. So the Big 12, we talked about it being the toughest conference in college basketball,
Right.
and it is. Texas Tech is 500 in Big 12 play. I think they're 5-10, right? You need to have a couple more wins if you're going to make it. I think they get a win today, and I think Texas Tech is going to be in the field of 68. This was a team that was the 3 seed, by the way, last year. Lost to Duke in the Sweet 16. This year's team was essentially like in rebuild mode.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now they're winning games, still at 49 in the net. Next 2 games, TCU and Kansas. They need to win at least one of those to be in the tournament, I think.
We know they're not going to beat Kansas, so they'll get a dub versus TCU. I'm in on Texas Tech. I feel like the Big 12 should have all 10 teams in, to be honest. Speaking of the Big 12, West Virginia. What do you think, in or out?
West Virginia, I am going out.
Okay.
They are at Kansas today. That is, that's
Rough.
a tough one. Having said that, I think West Virginia has just missed too many opportunities this year that they have had. They've had a couple of big wins this year. I love Bob Huggins. I love what the Mountaineers and everything, but I'm going down.
Okay, I'm going to go up because I just said that I think that all the Big 12 teams should go in this
You have to go up.
So I guess I have to go up here. As you mentioned, I love Bob Huggins. Really great coach. And I just feel like the Big 12 is such a tough conference to play in. So honestly, when I look at the record, I'm like, these teams are really beating up on each other every single night. So I don't know if you can necessarily go off of their conference record. And since it is so tough, I'm going to go yes to WVU. Let's go to a team that we've talked about probably 50,000 times this entire season. UNC, in or out?
Right now, today, I'm saying out.
Okay.
I cannot get over the fact that North Carolina has 0 Quad 1 wins. And here's just a list, Christine, because I was looking this up yesterday. Here's a list of Division I programs with more Quad 1 wins than North Carolina.
Oh, no.
Grand Canyon, Belmont, Eastern Illinois, Ryder, Hofstra, James Madison, South Florida, Wyoming, Santa Clara. This is no knock on those teams, but this is North Carolina. They should have at least a couple Quad 1 wins. There are only 2 teams in the country with more Quad 1 losses than North Carolina, Christine.
Oh, my goodness.
Louisville and Oregon State.
I'm shook by this. This is ridiculous.
That was a little bit of a roast session for UNC. But
yeah, it really was. I'm going to give UNC the benefit of the doubt, and the benefit is going to be the fact that, as we mentioned earlier, they were in the title game last year. I feel like there's no way they can be if it's like, okay, should we have UNC in the tournament this year? Them being on the bubble, it's going to be a yes because it's UNC. Right? Like that's.
You would think. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I just cannot. If North Carolina, and again, huge game at Virginia today.
Right.
They need to win. Like every game is a must win, and I think the ACC tournament provides another opportunity for more Quad 1 wins. But they need to win today.
They
Starts
also have
there.
one of the best players in the country on their team. They can't not have him playing in March. Okay, let's go to some fun things. Are we in or out on these things? First up, pineapple on pizza. Are you in or out?
That's a crime. I am out.
Are you joking?
No.
Yes. Want to know why? Because salty and sweet is the greatest combination. I understand
But
that
on
sometimes,
pizza, though?
sometimes the pineapples are a little wet for pizza, but I'm into it.
Okay.
Next, socks and flip-flops.
Yeah, I put that one in there specifically because I wear those all
that's
the time.
Weird. It's
socks and flops, like socks and slides.
Oh, socks and slides. I
Yeah.
mean, how are you sticking
Well,
the thing between your toes if you have?
If that's the only option, I'm going with it.
Shorts below the knees.
Below the knees?
I think it's supposed to be above. No, below. It's 2023 below.
I wear shorts like right above the knee.
So do you wear below the knee shorts?
No, I would not do that. Yeah,
I'm out on that too. It's 2023. Don't do that. It's weird. It's not the 90s. Wearing sunglasses inside. It's a yes.
I like the sunglasses like if it's bright inside, but I'm gonna go no. I don't.
It's bright.
Like if you're on a plane maybe and like the lights coming through, you're trying to sleep.
Oh my God, no. Living in Connecticut. Sam's moving to Connecticut.
I am moving to Connecticut, and I grew up in this state. This is the greatest state in the 50 states, the nutmeg state, so yes.
Okay, so I'm not even going to say my answer for that one because it feels controversial. Okay, and then finally Crocs. It's a yes.
No.
Whatever. Sam, listen, I went to Fashion Week. I know fashion.
Yeah, you did.
You should wear Crocs. Okay, guys,
I'm wearing Crocs on the show next week.
Thank you for watching watching Countdown to Game Day covered by State Farm. Go watch Game Day on ESPN right now, and we will see you guys very soon.
Thumbs up on this show.
Of course.